Hello, everyone. Welcome into another episode of Capturing the Game Within the Game podcast featuring Brady and me, the co host Desmond Jones. Today, we got another fabulous, fantastic guest. Her name is Terrika Foster-Brasby. What's going on, Terrika? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me.
Good, good, good. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself so that so they can get to know you?
Sure. So, as mentioned, I'm Terrika. I am a multimedia journalist and producer, a podcast producer at ESPN. I mostly cover women's basketball, both collegiate and the WNBA, but I am a jack of all trades: baseball, football, basketball, love it all. Diehard Detroit everything fan except the Lions. I'm a Colts fan. It has nothing to do with them being bad all these years before people assume.
I was going to ask about that.
I know, right? Everyone's like, well, how in the world are you a Colts fan? No, it's just my dad was a Colts fan, so I became a Colts fan naturally. It had nothing to do with the Lions being a bad team.
Okay, so now the real question is, why was your dad a Colts fan instead of a Detroit fan?
My dad loved quarterbacks, and at the time, Johnny Unitas was the quarterback of the Colts. So he was like a huge Johnny Unitas fan. And
Okay.
and so that's kind of like it was Baltimore when he was coming up, and then it became Colts
Hmm.
by the time I came around. So I mean, it became Indy by the time I came around. So it's weird, believe me, it's weird, like hating Indiana for everything except their NFL team. It's weird, but you know.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people don't. They're Lions fans, but they won't admit it just because they're saying is the Lions is always going to line the things.
Oh
So
man. No, see, I don't cheer, but that's the thing. Like, I don't cheer against the Lions. So, like, I always want them to win. I always hope they do well. I don't really wear any Lions paraphernalia. Like, I don't go that hard. Like, I don't
okay.
think I can go that far. But I always hope they do well, except when they're playing the Colts. And that's the one time where I actively root against them.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you grew up in sports with your dad being a huge sports fan. So what kind of made you get into that, like the sports content creating and writing and stuff? How'd that just
I
kind of pop
I
up?
think it's just something that I kind of always wanted to do. Like you mentioned, I grew up a sports fan. My dad was a sports fan. Grandparents were huge Tigers fans. Like to this day, they watch the Tigers games every day. Like there, it's just kind of always that's been something that's been ingrained in me. I didn't really realize that, I was different per se, because
Mhm.
girls don't really like for at least not in like the late 80s, early 90s. You didn't have a lot of girls that wanted to play football, or girls that wanted to, rather play basketball or whatever than play with little pretty dolls. So it was kind of like I didn't realize that was different, because that was all I kind of knew. That was like where my family was. And so but I also had a love and a passion for writing and talking. I talk too much. I'm a Leo, I know that. Debating, that was like always things that I was kind of always into doing. So it just was a natural fit that this would be a profession that I would enjoy doing. It really started off as a hobby. Like I was kind of writing for a blog, then I was, something that I was just doing for fun. And so many people kind of persuaded me and pushed me and said, you really need to think about making this like your career and not just something that you're doing for the fun of it. And so when I decided to, say, you know what, they may be on to something. And that's kind of when I decided to take it seriously.
Who are some of those people that kind of push you along the way and say, "Hey, you need to go be doing this because right now what you're doing is great, it's awesome, but we can see you going to the next level." Who are some of those people?
I can tell you a couple. One was my former boss, Allie. So I used to bartend at TGI Fridays. And of course, being a bartender at a sports bar, even
You
though
meet
people don't really think
everybody.
of, right, people don't really think of Fridays as a sports bar, but I was living in North Carolina and this was no typical Fridays. This was like the spot. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's like games on the TV and everything. And it was always a wonder why before I started working there, no one ever wanted to come to the bar on Sunday. Sunday was like the dead day. Nobody came to the bar on Sunday. But when I started working there and I took on the Sunday shift, you're the girl that, you want to talk about the football games. And so now I've got guys at the bar that we're talking football, you're eating wings, you're drinking beer. It became like a home away from home for people. And so my boss, Allie, she was like, Terrika, this is not just fun. Like, you're a great bartender and you're good at this, but you need to work in sports. Like, you need to get out of this bar and go work in sports. So she was like the first person who really put it in my head. And I really believed it when it came from her, because she's a straight shooter. She was one of those people who would be like, if you were good, you were good. If you sucked, she would tell you sucked. So I was like, okay, this must be something I really need to pursue and take seriously. And I think the other person who really pushed me was a friend of mine by the name of William Johnson. He randomly asked me to be a host on his online radio show back in 2013 on the Sports Fan Radio Network. And I thought he was crazy. I was like, I can't be anybody's radio host. Like, that's nuts. And he's like, no, like, I've read some of your blogs. I see some of your Facebook statuses. I see some of your debates on Twitter. Like, you could do this. And out the clear blue, I did it, and it was great. And he continued to push me along with some other friends at the Sports Fan Radio Network, Walter Donald, Anwar Jameson. These guys were just really, really behind me, Andrew Pat, and they just really pushed me and were like, you know what, you could do this. So when an opening at ESPN came along, I was like, the worst they could say is no. So I just applied for it, and lucky me, they hired me, and I've been there ever since. That was 2014.
No, that's a cool story that as you always have been growing up with that, and then the bar, everyone comes to the bar now because you're talking sports and people want to come and do that, and it's a thing that brings them there. For the people that are listening, how, with you applying to ESPN, you said the worst I can say is no. What would you kind of say to those people who want to go that next level in whatever avenue they be that they're going into?
I would say don't be afraid to take a chance and bet on yourself, because everybody's journey is different. I get asked a lot, like, what did you do, or how did you do it? And I honestly can't tell you that my route was a traditional one, because it wasn't. I didn't study journalism in college. I studied political science. I thought I was going to be a lawyer. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't study communications and journalism until I got to grad school, like when I decided to take this career seriously. Before then, like, it was just a hobby for me. And so I would definitely say, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. But I would also say, like, in putting yourself out there, don't think that what you're currently doing is wrong. And what I mean by that is, some people don't realize that writing your blogs is getting you experience writing. If you're an independent freelance journalist and you want to go check out a team's training camp where you get media credentials, that's all experience for you to add that you're doing something. If you put together a video and you are on camera, that's on camera experience. Like, so continue to do that, and don't be discouraged in thinking because you don't work for a large network or a large company that you're not getting that experience, or that what you're doing is in vain, because it's not. Like, we live in an era now where you can have a podcast, you can have, a YouTube channel, you can have a active social media that will get you the notoriety that you're looking for, or at least be able to get your voice out there. So don't be intimidated to be a part of a large company. And if that doesn't work for you, keep doing what you're doing. Like, you don't need that.
Okay. I'm writing that down in my head. But so I know you covered the WNBA, but when did you become a fan of the WNBA?
Day one. I kid you not. Day one. I was 11 years old, and I specifically remember Lisa Leslie and her ponytails hanging down, and then there's Rebecca Lobo, and she's got these cornrows, and I'm like, I'm from Detroit, I'm from the hood, right? And I was like, who is this white girl with cornrows getting ready to ball? Who is this? I was like, oh, I'm watching this. I am watching this. And I did. And then I got so excited. Houston goes on to win a championship that year. Cheryl Swoops comes out with shoes. I'm telling my team, like, I'm begging my coach, can our team shoe be the Cheryl Swoops and not the Penny Hardaways? Like, that's how long ago this was, right? I'm like, not the Pennies. Let's get the Air Swoops. Like, I've been a fan of this league since day one. So it's been a while. 25 years has been a while.
That's awesome. What has it been like covering it? Like from seeing it from day one to seeing where it's been like where is that now? I know you've seen ups, you've seen the highs, you've seen the lows, you've seen the movement over the past couple of years as you see more and more people starting to turn more and more attention to the W. So what has that been like for you to see that?
It's actually been a very interesting ride, to say the least, because I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. There have been, years where we were struggling for coverage, and to be honest, we're still struggling for coverage.
Yeah, absolutely.
We definitely still need more people to invest in women's sports and invest in the W. We still need more people to give these women the exposure that they deserve. But I can say specifically over the last couple of years, we have really seen the tide turn. Like, even stuff as small as having advanced stats for the WNBA, where before that type of information wasn't available. Now they have, specific sites and companies that work on just advanced stats for women's basketball. And that in itself is like, yes, thank you. For a journalist, I want to know that. You know what I mean? And I didn't have a way to know that before. So those kinds of things are very helpful. Outlets that are giving these women an opportunity to tell their story. If you talk to them, they'll tell you that one of the biggest reasons why it's difficult for fans to resonate is because fans have to be able to relate to you, and they can't relate to what they don't know. So if you're not giving them the exposure, if you're not allowing them to tell their stories, if you're not allowing fans to get to know them, then it's a little bit difficult for you to relate. One of the things you love about LeBron is because you feel like you know what he's doing all the time. We all in his business. We know everything about LeBron. You know what I mean? And so it's like, but if I asked you that same thing about Asia Wilson or about Angel McCautry, like, would you be able to give me that information? Of course not, right? And so I think that that's one thing that I've seen progress, is just the ability for these women to be able to have an opportunity to tell their stories. And that's definitely something that's in the works, in progress. And I think it's going to get better. I just think people really also need to understand that this league is only 25 years old and the NBA is like 70. That's a 50-year difference. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to make right. So it's like we're expecting, or so many people who don't understand that dynamic is expecting the W to be exactly where the NBA is. And it's like, are you in the same mind frame as your 70-year-old grandmother or grandfather? No, you know what I mean? Like, you have to get there. So just allow them to get there. But to be 25 years in, they have definitely made progress, but there's a long way to go.
Yeah, I know you mentioned the storytelling within the WNBA and like trying to get it out there. So with this past draft, how do you feel that the W is able to help tell the story? I know it was with the virtual draft and everything with the pandemic going on. What was kind of your take on everything that's happened with that?
I loved this year's draft. This year's draft class, it really didn't spark a lot of conversation before the NCAA tournament, but that's the beauty of the NCAA tournament. It gets you familiar with people who you never would have been familiar with before. And this year's tournament was really, really good. The games were competitive. Like, there were unexpected runs. It was just a really good game. Names that you had not heard before had an opportunity to shine. You saw an Ari McDonald go from no one knowing her name to be picked third overall that nobody saw coming. So like, that kind of thing is what we need. And more so, I love the fact that we're starting to see the gap being bridged between college and women's basketball, because that was also something that we really need to figure out how to do better, is to draw the gap. There are a lot of college basketball fans. There are people who, it doesn't matter who plays for UConn, they are UConn fans, and they will always be UConn fans. South Carolina is the same way. You've got South Carolina fans, it don't matter who they are, where they are South Carolina fans. And so Asia Wilson is one who comes to mind when I think of being able to make South Carolina fans into Las Vegas Aces fans. You know what I mean? And then you see Sabrina, who's making Oregon fans into New York Liberty fans. Like, that's what we need to continue to see. And I think that's what we're doing. And I think this draft class is going to continue to do that, especially with Arizona. Now you've got, you know, people who are coming out. I think this is probably, especially when I think of the second round, so many players who could have easily been first round draft picks fell to the second round. And I just think that when that kind of thing happens, that just means that there's so much talent, and that just means that there's bigger opportunity for more exposure for these women, because now you've got an opportunity to bring that crossover audience from where they went to school to where they'll now play professionally. And it's just exciting.
Yeah, definitely. So who were some of the biggest surprises you've seen draft in this past draft, or was some people that you looking forward to see play in this next upcoming season that starts in literally almost less than a month away?
Right. So definitely just name one, Ari McDonald. I was super surprised to see her go as high as she went. She was stellar in the NCAA tournament, and it certainly raised her draft stock. So that's exciting. I was also very surprised at the number 4 overall pick, which was Kaiser Gondriak out of West Virginia. She went to the Indiana Fever, and I just was surprised. I mean, she did great at West Virginia. You know what I mean? Like, she balled at West Virginia, averaged 19.5 points a game. She's a beast, but I didn't expect her to be number 4. You know, then you think about Indiana and you're like, well, y'all need everything. So for real, I guess it really don't matter who you drafted number 4, right? So there's that. I think the other biggest surprise for me was seeing Renaya Davis out of Tennessee stick around long enough to be at number 9 for Cheryl Reeve to pick up. Cheryl Reeve is just, I don't know what she's just like a walking magnet for greatness, right? Like, she just finds the diamonds in the rough. She knows how to put a roster together. And that's why Minnesota just continues to be successful. You know, I know when Maya Moore stopped playing a couple years ago, people wondered, what was Minnesota going to do? Oh, nothing. Just keep on a 9-year postseason run like it's nothing. It's just what they do, right? So that was definitely something. And I just think the other thing for me is just, again, how deep that second round was. Like, Dana Evans was in the second round. Dee Richards out of Baylor, you know, past national champion, past defensive player of the year. Like, she's in the second round. Are you kidding me? So I just think that there were just a lot of good players that, you know, people had an opportunity to steal. And I'm looking forward to the season.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what are your opinions or thoughts of with the Dallas Wings? I know they had the first 2 picks and a couple in that first round. How do you think they did with their picks, and what thoughts do you have with how they drafted this year?
I definitely give them an A-. Like, they had tons of picks and they used them to the best of their ability. I think we all knew that Charlie Collier was going to go number 1 overall, and she did. She brings them length, she brings size. You know, then number 2, they got Awa Kayor from Finland, who is huge. Like, so she also continues to bring size. And then you have guard play, which I think is going to be interesting, because we talk about how there aren't enough roster spots in the WNBA. And so now you've got a situation where you're going to have to fight. Like, Dallas, you're going to have to fight for a roster spot while you're there. And they're under a new head coach, Vicki Johnson. She's already stated that she wants to run a fast-paced offense. She's already stated that, you know, she wants these girls to be offensive juggernauts, and she's not going to leave defense out of it. So when these women enter training camp this week, which training camp started yesterday. So, well, today is the official first day, but there's some were starting to report yesterday. But this week is going to be tough. Super tough, because they're like, you're gonna have to fight for a spot. Dana Evans was drafted. She's gonna have to fight for a spot. Chelsea Dungy out of Arkansas, like, y'all gotta fight. So I'm really gonna be interested to see like what this roster is going to look like. And honestly, you can't go wrong. Like they were only a piece or two away, in my opinion, from being a playoff team. So I think they got it. I think this year they can make it happen.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And so the one thing that you mentioned, you know, time after time, is not enough roster spots and not enough roster spots. When can we expect to see the league grow? Because I'm ready to see more teams added on, man. Can you tell me? I don't know, man. I'm hoping it's soon, like next year or something. Something got to happen soon.
Listen, we all got the same questions. Now there is. I can't even say rumor at this point, because I don't believe that it's rumor anymore. I think it's been made public knowledge that they are looking to expand and place a team in Philadelphia, and that would certainly it would certainly be helpful. One, Philadelphia is a great fan base, and by great fan base, I mean like they love sports in Philadelphia. I don't mean they're not rude. Y'all rude in Philly. Y'all real rude in Philly, okay? So, you know, you're going to have some thick skin if you get drafted to that expansion team, okay? But again, I think they're a great fan base where they're going to love you if you play there, you know, and it's going to add an additional spot for another 12 young women to have an opportunity to play in this league, and it's needed. I know that there's been a lot of people rallying for a team in Canada, Toronto to be specific. Now, there's nothing that I've ever seen that officially states that anybody is looking to expand a team in Canada, but there is at least a want for it. So if anybody's looking at bringing an international team to the WNBA, Toronto is definitely a spot that has made it known they want y'all to be there, you know? So I definitely think we need, I'm again, Detroiter, used to have the Detroit Shock. I know they're the Dallas Wings now, but you know, we would love to have a women's basketball team back in Detroit again. So there's definitely a market for it, but at the same time that we have these conversations where we talk about expanding, we're still going to need people to financially invest, because you don't want to have these teams and then they don't have the financial support behind them and eventually end up folding as they did the first time. So it's a lot to consider, I'm sure, but I think there are a lot of basketball players and a lot of other athletes that are really looking to get into ownership. There are some former WNBA players, like we saw Renee Montgomery, that are interested into getting into ownership. So I think people are looking to invest, and this is the best time to do it, because we need the spots, we need the teams.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think more teams should be added. Just all these major sports teams have stuff in the cities, and even just having like I know the Pacers and Fever play in the same stadium, so you can even have things like that where you can just same venue, you just have to change around some signage and stuff that way, which will make it an easier thing for them. But yeah, definitely agree with what you said, and what we're all thinking is when and how they're going to do it.
Minnesota's the same way. Minnesota, the Timberwolves and the Lynx both play in the Target Center. So like when you walk in there, you feel like this is a dual stadium for two different teams, you know, like this is a Lynx team and this is a Timberwolves team. Like you can see it, you can feel it. If you could have more NBA clubs really like embracing their WNBA counterparts like that, man, this wouldn't even be a conversation.
It wouldn't be, but it's hard. Like it stinks that because some of the owners don't want that, like they don't want them in their building, and and that's sad. And I look at Chicago as one of those examples how they play out in they call Chicago Sky, but they really play in like a suburb that's off of Chicago, and it's not really. So it just like it's scenarios like that that makes me sad, and I wish that ownerships took a bigger role in trying to help support that league, because I mean everyone wins if you can help them out, help the women out, then it's everyone's winners on both sides.
I think this past summer really gave us a great glimpse at that. Like, it sucked that, they had to play in the bubble because of the pandemic. But what it did do was allow for men's basketball and women's basketball to take place at the same time. And with it happening at the same time, it garnered more eyes. More people got to see the product that the WNBA puts out every night, and they can see, like, you can't deny that what they're doing isn't good basketball anymore, because they have proven, and the numbers have proven that it really is, and that if you can see it, people will like it, they'll enjoy it, they'll want to consume it. The issue is they don't see it. So I think last summer just kind of gave everybody a glimpse of what can happen if you truly put some push and some marketing behind. And I'm not saying that like the WNBA isn't putting push and marketing behind their product. They are. I'm saying everyone else needs to put the push and the marketing behind what they're trying to put out there, because there's a market for it.
Yeah, definitely. There definitely is for that. Kind of switching gears in with basketball, we know you've covered the NFL as well. How has that differed from covering the basketball world?
Super different. Super different. Covering the NFL, one, being in an NFL stadium, being in an NFL media room, which I haven't been in a couple of years now due to the pandemic, but it's different, and it's different for a female. I know that sounds weird, but it's definitely different for a woman covering the NFL, being in the NFL locker room. I covered a lot of training camps, which got me an opportunity to talk to people who some make a roster, some do not make a roster. But for the most part, when you're covering a training camp, you get the opportunity to be outside, you get the opportunity to kind of mingle and that kind of thing. And it makes it feel a little bit easier. But covering the NFL is just so different because there are so many people who do it. One thing about the WNBA or women's basketball is that most of us are very close niche because it's such a small community. So you don't know everybody, but you kind of know everybody, right? And now on the NFL scene, it's so many people that there's no possible way that you feel like you can know everyone, right? And you hate having that lost in the crowd kind of feeling, but it's just altogether a different game. Like it's just altogether a different feeling. Covering sports is covering sports, right? So the basics of it is the same, but it's just like, it depends on the team, depends on, what that, PR contact is like, depend on who those players are. If you've built rapport with them and they feel comfortable talking to you, it's just altogether different. But there's some guys out there who don't really care too much for women who cover the NFL. And then you have some who are very welcoming and very embracing. And to those people like me say thank you, because we appreciate that and we need that camaraderie to kind of feel a part of the team. But for all you other people who act like because we've never played football before, we can't effectively do our jobs. Well, guess what? There are a lot of people out there, some even coaching, who've never played football professionally before. And you don't tell them they can't do their job. So don't tell us we can't do ours.
That is absolutely very true. And some people are even the same age as their coaches. So, and that's a whole different other ball game.
Right.
But that's a whole different ball. But so yeah, so being a woman in sports, like how, like have you had to go through any barriers or any I know you probably went through tons of rejections, and I'm sure that you've been accepted plenty of times, but can you tell about your experience just being a woman in sports?
Yeah, like, so I can say this. I can give you two examples, right? Example number one is there is a gosh, I don't want to say harshness, but there is a level of toughness that you have to have just covering sports, period, right? Because you'll get athletes who aren't always the most welcoming and aren't always, wanting and ready to talk to you. That's just the way of the world. Everybody ain't camera friendly. Everybody don't want to tell you their business. Everyone doesn't want to give you the story. Everyone doesn't want to do an interview. So there's that. And then you have some people who are reluctant to give you stories or give you opportunities because they don't feel like you're going to be able to handle yourself in that situation. And I think that those kinds of things are the things that you really have to find the right way to approach and get over. Because in some aspects, this could be your boss, right? And so if this person is your boss, you don't want to tell your boss to, you don't want to tell your boss the wrong thing. Right. But you also want to be able to be in a situation to prove to this person, like, they don't have to dismiss you or not give you an assignment because you're a girl, because you're a woman, because you're female. I think another thing that women have to overcome is being heard, meaning like if we're in a meeting or if we're in a scenario where ideas are being tossed around, there are times where we are the only ones in the room. And I mean, to be frank, I'm not just a woman, but I'm a Black woman, right? Yeah. And oftentimes I am the only one who looks like me in the room. Mm-hmm. And so I have the barrier of, I can't come off too harsh because then I get the angry Black woman stereotype, but I can't be quiet because I have a great idea and I want someone to know my idea. And then there are times where I have an idea, I say my idea, no one really cares about my idea. And then a month later, a guy says the same thing that I said last month, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like, but I just said that last month. Like, it's like, these things are real. They really happen. It's definitely not something that people make up. It's definitely not over exaggerated. Like, these things happen. And it's like you get to a point where you're almost expecting this kind of stuff. And that's the sad part. But after a while, you're just like, you know what? Whatever. Like, it is what it is. I'm not going to let y'all silence me. I'm definitely not going to let you talk over me. I'm not going to let you toss my ideas out like they don't matter. And you learn how to stand up for yourself, and you continually stand up for yourself. And I am happy to say that I don't really deal with that as much as I used to. I work with a great group of people who really listen to me, who really value my opinion, who really understand that I know what I'm doing, I know how to do my job, and they do not treat me like, you're crap, we don't care about you. But I can't say that that's the same for everyone else in every other department, because I've seen it, I've been in those positions, and it does suck. So it is a lot to overcome, but the strong survive.
No, that's right. Speaking of strong survives, going to the NFL draft this week that's happening Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. What do you think is going to happen? Are you going to see a lot of trades? What's your thoughts on overall the NFL draft this week?
Well, let me first say that I am so sick of this NFL draft. I cannot wait until this draft is over. I have never spent so much of my time speculating what is going to happen in my life, right? So This draft has been very interesting because everyone is talking about this number 3 pick with San Francisco. Are they gonna pick Mac Jones? And this is like all everyone's talking about. What is Atlanta gonna do at 4 if whatever happens at number 3? And like, crazy. What I think ultimately though is there's so much question around Justin Fields and how he's fallen. And I honestly think he's gonna go a lot higher than this projected number 4, number 5, number 6. Like, he's the 5th pick in the draft. I think a lot of times some of these owners, some of these coaches, they literally know in their mind who they're going to pick, but they don't want us. They don't want the media to know. They like to play the rigmarole and just, go around in circles. Yeah. So I think that Justin Fields, the guy that everyone, is condemning right now, dropping steadily, I think he's going to go a lot higher than he's now being anticipated number one. Everyone knows Trevor Lawrence is going to go number one. But yeah, and I think Zach Wilson, they're saying possibly number two. I can see all of that, but I think Justin Fields is the guy. Like, if he's on the board, you don't take Mac Jones, you take Justin Fields.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing here? So that's definitely something. And I am actually very interested to see what Philadelphia does, because they concern me.
Mm-hmm.
They concern me a lot. Your coach, Nick Sirianni, he's breaking my heart. He was a former Colts offensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach, talking about Jalen Hurts is going to have to play for the starting position against Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco?
What are we talking about here?
What are we talking about here? So that makes me think you may be doing something stupid come Thursday, and I'm concerned with what you might do with your pick, sir. So I think those are the two that I'm most concerned about. What is Philly gonna do, and where's Justin Fields gonna actually land?
Yeah. I think it's gonna be a lot of trades, but I'm so super curious to see where these quarterbacks land, to see if it goes the way that people say it's going to go. And I'm a Bears fan, so I'm always curious about them. So I've given up on this GM, and so I'm ready for them to kick him to the curb.
Well, you're probably hoping Justin Fields keep falling then, huh?
Yeah, just a little bit. So if he falls, Bears pick him, I'll be a happy man that day. But I may once again become a Bears fan, because I say, I'm done being a fan for now. I put my fans to the side. I picked up my Colts hat. I put it on.
Oh, no, that listen, I'm not that Colts fan that tells people don't come. I am with open arms. Please come. We embrace you. We would love you.
I'm definitely going to enjoy it. You guys got a nice quarterback now.
Oh no.
I guess you're not a fan of Carson.
So, this Carson Wentz thing. As the sirens, see, it was a state of emergency. That's why the sirens came.
Right.
Started talking about Carson Wentz, because literally, I'll just say this. I don't think that he's a bad quarterback, but I was really hoping that we would have gone after Matthew Stafford when he was available, because
that was a great choice.
Oh my God, it would have been an awesome choice. It wouldn't have been too far from home, because he's been in Detroit 12 years, so it wouldn't have been too far of a move. But most importantly, he's a veteran quarterback that still got chops. He's just been in an unfortunate position in Detroit where they didn't have anything around him, but we've got a great running back for him. We've got one of the best offensive lines to protect him. We've got a great receiver in T.Y. Hilton. And I mean, listen, we had the perfect fit for him. Yep. You bring this guy from Philly, who clearly his teammates don't like, who clearly got his coach fired. Like, I don't like your attitude, and I don't need that cancerous attitude in my locker. Like I'm the owner in my locker room. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I own the team. So you know what I mean? I didn't need that. I didn't want that. And so I get that he's got this relationship with Frank Reich, and I get that, this is supposed to be his fresh start, but I wanted Matthew Stafford. I mean, I'm sure I'll be fine by the time, August gets here, but I wanted Matthew
Stafford. Matthew would have been so nice in that stadium. Nice. He would have been nice on that team. He got an offensive line that can protect him. He got a receiver. He got a receiving crew. He got a top tier defense.
Yeah.
And he's still playing. And he's still playing the dome. Like, what else is there not to like?
Oh my God, listen. Listen, I was hurt. I was crushed. I was crushed when I saw he signed with the Rams. I was like, no.
Oh man.
Nah, the Colts do got a nice uniform or a nice stadium, is what I meant to say. They do have a nice stadium, so.
Yeah. Lucas.
Oh, speaking of stadiums, I know one thing. I know we running out of time here. One thing we wanted to ask you about is the WNBA jerseys. What were some of your favorite WNBA jerseys that you like from the ones that they just released?
Yes. Those jerseys were fire. So I
Super
live in the
fire.
state of Connecticut, and since we don't have the Detroit Shock anymore, I have since become a Connecticut Sun fan, a huge Connecticut Sun fan. So obviously, I loved their Rebel jerseys the best. The blue with the Indian saying across, which basically meant sun. Like the blue was just fire, and it was a complete deviation from their colors altogether. I just loved it. I thought it was dope. The Indiana Fever jersey, the Stranger Things, ridiculously dope. I loved it. I was also a fan of the Washington, D.C. jersey, the Rise, and it had the 19th Amendment that's written on it. And I loved how they flipped, like how the 19th Amendment wasn't really inclusive, but how this is how we're going to make it inclusive. Like, I love that. That was super dope. And I'm feeling the stripes from the Chicago sky. I was the black sky with the blue, baby blue stripes and the gold. I was feeling it. I was like, okay, Chicago, I see y'all. So those were my faves. Atlanta, I think they're gonna be all right. Vegas, I was expecting a little more. Like they were just still kind of plain. Like I thought, get a little more. Same with the Sparks. I thought I was gonna get a little more.
Yeah.
I can't leave out New York. New York was cool. It had like equality, and there were like baby blue trimmed in the gold, or like the teal blue and the gold with the Statue of Liberty in the front. Like that was kind of dope. So and Phoenix. Oh my God, they're gonna kill me. Oh my God, did you guys see Phoenix's jerseys? Phoenix needs to send me a jersey. Like they just need to be like, you know what? We got an extra one in the bag. Let's go ahead.
Just go ahead and send it to me.
Let's just send it to Terrika because she needs a jersey. Dope, so dope. So yeah, Nike did a really good job with this one. There was controversy about Dallas's jersey, and rightfully so. So they have stopped the sale of the Dallas Rebel jersey. They have pulled it. So I'm very interested to see what they are going to replace it with. I have no doubt in my mind that Nike is going to do their research and find something great, but I'm glad they listened to the fans and pulled that one. So we'll see what Dallas comes up with.
Yeah, it's also always awesome to hear when companies listen to their fans and make a change. So
Yep.
Respect to the companies that do that.
For sure.
Okay. So that kind of wraps up our first part of our segment. We're going to switch gears. We're going to go into our rapid fire segment. So this is a segment that we call the game within the game. And so what it is just a rapid fire. We ask you a question, you give us an answer. We have a scoreboard on our end that we try to tally up the wins and losses of based off of people's choices. So it's something that me and Brady debate about. So it's really fun game to play. So my question is, are you ready to play?
I'm ready. At least I hope I am.
It's real easy. So we'll start you off with something simple. So which do you prefer, TV shows or movies?
Movies.
Okay. That's strike one. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Look, I'm a TV show person, so I love TV shows just because of the fact that it's so much content, much more character development. But don't get me wrong, I'll go put on a movie in a heartbeat, and I'll be, the happiest person.
Okay. I'll watch a TV show too. Like I like TV shows, but like I would just rather watch a good 2 hours and be done with it.
Fair enough.
So the next one that we got, chocolate chip cookies or oatmeal raisin?
Oh, oatmeal raisin.
Let's go.
Oatmeal raisin. Oh,
Let's go. Let's go. It's very rarely that I hear someone vouch for oatmeal raisin. So I'm glad
yes.
you rocking with me on that.
I got you.
All right. So here's the Detroit question for you.
Oh, snap.
Which is your favorite Coney Island?
Oh, wait, do you got choices or are you asking me?
Lafayette or American?
Oh, that's the word. They both suck. Okay.
Okay. You can pick. You can pick.
Between the two, I would take Lafayette over American. The difference is chili. It's the chili. Lafayette's chili much better, and they pile it on Lafayette. Yeah.
Okay. So which one is your favorite then?
So my favorite, if you're ever in Detroit, if any of your listeners are ever in Detroit, go to Deluxe Coney Island. It is on the east side of Detroit on 7 Mile Road in Coney. It is the bomb. Bomb.com. Mark my words. It's the best Coney Island ever. It's hood though, but it's good.
Hey, some of the hood joints be the best ones.
So. The best ones. Like, yeah, you just make sure you lock your car door when you go over there. But
Awesome. So if you had to take over a WNBA team, which team would you take over?
Oh, I would take over I would probably take over the Connecticut Sun. But I love y'all, Connecticut. Y'all my favorite team. But that's just the only reason why I would take y'all over. That's it.
Okay. Staying on the WNBA trend, what is your top 5 of all time for the WNBA?
Hard. Okay. Top 5 all time. Okay, Cynthia Cooper, number 1. She's my favorite player ever. I love Cynthia Cooper. Wait, it don't have to be by positions, right? Like just players.
Nope, just players. Okay. Your top 5.
Okay, so Cynthia Cooper would be in my top 5. Diana Taurasi is in my top 5. Dawn Staley is in my top 5. Ooh, oh gosh darn, this is hard. I would put Lauren Jackson in my top 5. Oh, this is so hard. Oh God, I don't know if this is gonna be so tough. So it's like a 3-way tie.
Okay.
Between Candace Parker, Maya Moore, and Cheryl Swoops. It's like a tie.
Okay.
3. One of them could round out the rest of the 5.
Okay. You got a nice 6-man and a bench.
I really do. I got the starting 5, the 6th woman of the year, and I got 2 reserves. What you mean?
You looking pretty solid. I'm not mad at that list at all. So you definitely got some dogs and some beasts on that list.
I'm telling you, yo, that squad right there winning gold every time, man.
Well, that kind of concludes our whole podcast interview today. We'd like to thank you, Terrika, for coming on and joining us. It was a wonderful conversation that Desmond and I had with you today. So we'd like to thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. I have fun. I wish I had more time. I could talk. I told you guys I talk too much. I could talk all night.
No, we definitely enjoyed it. So for the people that are listening and when we put on YouTube that are viewing it, where can they find you at and follow along with your career?
I'm sure you can follow me at Shino Sports on Twitter, and then on Instagram and Facebook, I am at Shino Sports _ So just be sure to follow me, reach out, tweet me. I tweet back, I follow back. So yeah.
All right, and for the people that are listening and viewing at home, you can follow us on Instagram at capturing_the_game pod. Follow us on Twitter at CTG_podcast. And you can search us up on YouTube and Facebook at Capturing the Game Podcast. Again, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. And we hope that we connect and we can have you on another episode soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.